back at the barn. So stay tuned and I'll show you how we make a Whoo stick. Probably the only tool you'll need, other than somewhere to drill a hole, is a pocket knife. Pocket knife is what we're going to use to make our Whoo stick out of. And the first thing we want to do with our Whoo stick, this is the hickory here that we have, and it's a nice size. We want to cut this to about 15 inches long, 12 to 15 inches. 12 would probably be better. Anyhow, we'll cut this into the 12 inches using our pocket knife. And there we have it. We'll cut off any little knobblies that are on here that might slow you down. Next thing you want to do is take all the bark off. Just whittle it away. Take all the bark. You know, as I said earlier, growing up, when I did in the countryside, we always, like I said, had to entertain ourselves, and we were always whittling, we were always making things. If you've never made your own top, you can do that. Made your own yo-yo, you can do that. You remember what the yo-yo was? You don't see them much today because the kids are so wrapped up in video games, they probably couldn't tell you what a yo-yo was unless it was a Yo-Yo Ma or something like that. Or some sort of video game that had somebody named Yo-Yo in it. But kids today are just missing out on an awful lot by not having to grow up. I mean, they're growing up in an urban lifestyle, and they never get to experience what it's like to be in the woods. You know, you take a kid out and teach it to fish, it's never going to go hungry. You teach a kid to hunt, to forage, they're never going to go hungry. But I have a question there that I'd like to ask is, I know video games are probably exciting and fun to kids nowadays, but an example is I have some neighbors that are not too terribly far away from me right here that it's a multi-family home, and I know there's 6 kids there, maybe 8, I'm not certain, but I see them out during this time of year when school's back in session, and they're out waiting for the bus, and they've all got their cell phone or their video game, and they're playing a video game or texting one another. And but other than that, I never see them out. They have an old trampoline that last time I saw that trampoline, it was tore up, wasn't any good, and you know, they can't even get any exercise. So I imagine by not seeing them at all that they are inside playing video games. And I kind of wonder, what is life going to be like when they get older and into the real world? Are they going to get to where they can't get along with anybody? They can't do for themselves? They think that the world owes them a living? I don't know. I worked hard all my life. This place that we have down here, we've been here 20 years. I drove a truck for 45 years. And in that 45 years, I managed to save up enough to where that my wife and I bought this property. That's the first thing we did, was bought the property, and I had enough money to put down to where I didn't have to pay on it but for 5 years. This is 45 acres, if you can imagine what 45 acres costs. But we paid for it in 5 years' time, and after we paid for it, we sold our house that was back in a suburban area that when we bought it 45 years ago, when we bought that, it was in the country. But then the country gradually moved down towards it. We had 3.5 acres there. And our house is, I call it a shack, really, but it's 2,500 square feet under roof, heated and cooling, and on 45 acres. And it's got one bedroom, one legitimate bedroom with a closet. But in reality, I've got an upstairs room that I found enough space up there to build another room up there. And whenever the children come visit, they stay up there. I've got an office space that I can convert into a bedroom, and I've got another storage room downstairs that I can convert into a bedroom. So in reality, I've got a 4 or 5 bedroom house, and it's just a comfortable place. I don't know, I just enjoy being out there, being out here. Where else can you go and have this much fun? I don't enjoy going out to parties. I don't enjoy crowds. I don't go to football games. You may think I live a sheltered life, and I do, but there's just something about taking care of yourself, and that's what we do here. We entertain ourselves. We don't watch TV. We don't play video games. We do play a lot of Scrabble. Scrabble will enhance your abilities to think and to understand. Scrabble is good game. Okay, I'm scraping this bark off of this hickory limb, and it's coming along nicely, and so I'm going to smooth it up here a little bit by scraping it. You can see that it's got stuff flying everywhere, but that's the old bark and the sapwood that I'm scraping into. Cleaning it up. It's looking really nice. Do both ends. I heard my neighbor's tractor back down the road. I guess he's getting ready to get started on his food plots today. I don't know. He doesn't do the work. He's in such a way that he can hire somebody to do it. I can't hire anybody. I live on a very fixed income. Doesn't mean that I don't have enough money to take care of myself, because I do, but I don't like to spend it. Am I, what do you call that, a Scrooge? No, I'm not a Scrooge, but I am very frugal with what we have. Okay, this is our Whoo stick, and it's coming together. In this area right in here, we want to try to make it as smooth as possible. This area back here on the back is more or less the handle. And this part up front will be the axle, where we'll put the axle for the shaft, the propeller. There's 3 parts to a Whoo stick. There's the shaft, the pin that will hold it, and the propeller that goes round and round. So what I want to do here, I want to cut this back a little bit, cut it away from that knob, because this is where the propeller is going to go. So we'll cut that off. Excuse me while I put my glasses on. There's sometimes I can't see as well as I used to, so I have to use my close-up glasses. Okay, and we'll cut this propeller end off in such a way that it's got the flat side to it. Trim it down some. You want to be careful with your pocket knives. They can, if you keep them sharp, you can cut your finger and not even know it till you wonder where all the red is coming from on your stick. Okay, this is what it looks like on the end. I want to have it nice and flat there. Continue to scrape a little bit back here. I used to carry a knife with me all the time. Most everybody when I was growing up and in high school, especially when I was in the Army, had a knife. You had a belt knife. You remember the old buck knife that people used to wear on their hip? I had one of those. I had a pocket knife. And then 9/11 happened. And when 9/11 happened, everything changed. You could still carry a pocket knife as long as you didn't fly. If you flew, you could pretty much count on your pocket knife being confiscated by the TSA. And I think that's just a little bit much personally. I don't know, you may have a different opinion, but I don't see anything wrong with it. You know, a pocket knife might even save your life. Who knows? In today's world. Okay, that's our shaft. Now we're going to make the propeller. And what I want to make the propeller out of is a small portion of this hickory here. We're going to cut off about a 2-inch section right there to make our propeller out of. This is what our propeller is going to be made out of. About 2 inches long, maybe a little less. We'll start with it, and we'll clean the bark off. Whittle it down. That's what we used to call this kind of work, whittling. Whittling a Whoo stick. Be careful because your knives are sharp and they will hurt you. I can remember a friend of mine one time, we were telling jokes, and one of the particular jokes that we told was about a dog. This old dog was doing what dogs always do. He was licking himself. And somebody said to my friend, said, "Wish I could do that." My friend said, "That dog will bite you." Stupid story, I know, but that's the way it is. Okay, once we have the bark off, we want to start thinning it down. We're making a propeller out of this, so let's thin it on down. You know, I'm thinking that we might can split this. This is where you want to be real careful because that knife can slip off of there and cut you 2 ways for certain. That's deep and wide. But you want to work this split on down. You can see how it's splitting a little bit now. Once you get it down, you have a split off of it. And once that split is there, you can smooth this up, thin it out, making your blade there. Okay, now we're going to have to do one more split on it. We want to split it again. Remember, be real careful. You can rock it back and forth on your knife until it starts to split out. And once it splits out, you might can prise it open a little bit, but work it on down. Don't be in any big hurry. There. See how that split apart? This is the part we're making our propeller out of, so we'll smooth it up. Whittle it down into a nice little flat piece. Get a couple of more tools. I had to change my knife out and get to my whittling knife. I've had this knife for about 30 years, and that's all I do with it is carve wood and whittle with it. I had to get my granddaddy's little ball peen hammer. But what I'm going to do, I also had to get the shaft for the propeller. So I'll set the shaft down here where I can find it, won't without a metal detector. Put my seeing eye glasses on. I can't see up close, but I'll put these on here. You want to find the center point of your propeller. You can just eyeball it. You don't have to do anything fancy with it there, but I think that ought to be about the center. And we're going to drill a hole through there. You know, a friend of mine, I watched him grow up. He came down here to deer hunt a time or two, and it was just a pleasure to watch this young man grow up. He wound up being a missionary to New Guinea, and he and his wife and children went down to New Guinea and lived a very simple life. The one good thing about it was that he managed to take a chainsaw mill and cut timber to build his own house. But as I was thinking about it, they had no television, no nothing. They had to more or less entertain themselves, and I wonder what all they did for entertainment. I'll have to ask him about that sometime. But his children grew up in such a way that they had to entertain themselves. This was out in Papua New Guinea, and they had people and children to play with and all, and they seemed to, from the pictures I saw, they seemed to have a real good time doing all of that. Okay, we're about to come through now. When it starts to come through, you have your pilot hole and you'll flip it over and drill from the other side to try to keep from splintering it out so bad. But there you go. Kind of ream it a little bit, clean it out. But anyhow, back to his children and him. They grew up depending on each other and playing with each other and having their life together there. And but then they I don't know what you call it, but his wife got sick and they had to come home. And they were missionaries there, of course, and he was translating the Bible into the language of the people down there. And if you know anything about New Guinea, it's not a simple task to do because different tribes have a different language. The dialect is very similar, but it's kind of like speaking Spanish and Italian. They sound similar, but they are different. That's the way New Guinea was. They sounded similar, but they were different. There were nuances to the language that just didn't gee and haw. I'm whittling this down, trying to make it a little bit thinner and a little bit lighter and a little bit more symmetrical. Whoo sticks. Whoo sticks have been around for a long, long time. I wonder just how long they have been around. Look that up. See if you can find out something about it. Let me know. I just know that I played with them quite a bit. You don't want to have any little fuzzlies around it. Those fuzzies will act like a brake to your shaft, and it won't function like it's supposed to. So whittle that out a little bit more. You know, this thing here, you can take this and whittle two holes, one apart there, and put strings through that, and a string of about 14 inches, and have a little whirly gig. You pull it apart and back and forth, it'll whirl round and round. When you see these things and you think about it, it's not so much the fact that you're doing something different or unique, it's that you're entertaining yourself. You're doing something with your hands that you may enhance on later in life. You may wind up going into woodworking or something like that. It's a good learning experience for something to do. But there's our propeller. The shaft that I have for it came from a pocket hole screw. I cut the tip of the pocket hole screw off, and it'll fit through this hole that I just drilled, in such a way that it goes around and around. You can see how easily it goes. That's what you want it to do. You want it to be an easily done shaft. On the end, down here where the pith is, you see the pith in the middle there? That pith is easy to remove, and that's where you want to drill into. You want to drill that hole straight on back. You don't have to drill it all that far because you're going to drive this home. You want it to sit in there kind of tight. But there you go. And what'll happen there is you'll drive your screw home into that. Your propeller will be over the screw. And it will fit just about like that. Okay. Next comes the engine, the part that's going to make it go round and round. And it's just a matter of a simple bunch of notches on here. You just want to whittle you some notches. And I guess you want to go about 1/8 of an inch deep on these notches. Just something you'll have to judge yourself to see how it goes. But we'll put this series of notches down here, and from the notch you just cut to begin with, you want to come back to about 1/4 of an inch or less and start your next notch. And we'll notch that back. I'll get back with you when I finish these notches. If you look carefully, you see I've got a series of notches in here. Now I have cheated just a little bit. I was going to make another stick we need to crank our engine with, but I decided to use this little old bamboo dowel instead. And what we'll do with it, we'll just rub it back and forth, and you should see that propeller go round and round. Let's install the propeller now. Now let's drill a hole a little deeper. We'll drive our shaft on down in. We want the shaft to turn freely. We want the propeller, ouch! We want the propeller to turn freely on the shaft. You know, I just cut myself, dummy. Anyhow, put your knife down, turns freely. Now in order to get that propeller to turn round and round, we'll rub our stick on it, and it should go round and round. Oh, what have I done wrong? And there you go. There's always a trick to it. You can amaze your friends with it. It's amazing what we do to amuse ourselves. Give it a try and see if you can perfect it. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. I'll play with this a little bit more. Have a blessed day.